start this podcast off, I've got to defend Rudy Gobert a little bit. Shaq the other day, one of the greatest big men of all time, called Rudy Gobert the worst player of all time. And Rudy, he catches a lot of flack for his play because in the modern NBA, we see so many great offensive talents at the center position, guys who can move like a guard. You got a guy like Wemby, 7'4". He's not as smooth as a guy like the top echelon, like say Kyrie or Paul George. But Wemby, he can handle the rock better than pretty much any big has before him. And you see an influx of talented bigs like that can move almost like a guard. And then you see Rudy Gobert, and he's the opposite of that. He doesn't take three-pointers. He lives in the paint, and he locks down on D, and is just more of a connecting piece on the offensive end. And that's pretty much all he is. He does it efficiently, but he doesn't take too many shots either. He's not the most aggressive offensive player you've ever seen. That's for sure. And that's okay. Rudy Gobert is a very valuable player in the modern NBA, and he shows that you can go against the grain and be able to still impact the game at a high level. He catches a lot of flack for being, he's not really that good a defender. He shouldn't be a 4-time DPOY. Look at the Utah Jazz teams in the playoffs. They fell apart. You know why? Because Rudy Gobert had no defenders with him on that Jazz team. You can look at the roster. It's just led by guys. They might be good on offense, but they can't hold a candle to what a guy like Rudy Gobert does defensively. So he has to carry the load, not just in the post, but on the perimeter as well. And he's a solid perimeter defender for a big man. He's not Marcus Smart. He's not Drew Holiday. And he doesn't need to be, because his role, his bread and butter, is in the post. And so if you hate on him for his perimeter defense, you're missing the whole point of what he brings to a team. He can take a horrible defensive roster and turn that into a top 5 defense in the league. He was the leader of one of the best defenses we have seen in recent memory, maybe all time, for this past year's Minnesota Timberwolves. Rudy Gobert is a very valuable player in today's NBA because of defense alone. And talking about the Timberwolves team, one play that he caught a lot of flack for was when he was guarding Luka Doncic and Luka hit a step-back three. No one in the league is guarding that. There's a very select few guys in the league who are going to guard that. And Rudy Gobert, he did all right for what he had. He, just due to his wingspan, he was able to contest it a little bit, and most guys can't even do that on Luka Doncic. So the fact that he was even able to put up a little bit of a contest on a Luka Doncic step-back three while being a post-centric player is very impressive. So I think Rudy, a lot of time, we miss the plot entirely when it comes to his defense and what he brings to a team. Because he deserves his 4 DPOYs. He is one of the greatest defenders that we have ever seen. He has been the anchor of great defensive units that wouldn't have been able to do without him. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, you can make a little bit of an argument for that. But that's another thing, because he's really showed his value this past year and still catches a lot of hate. But he really showed his value in what he can be, because the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're the opposite of that Utah Jazz, those old Utah Jazz teams, because they have so many guys that can defend. Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels is one of the best two-way players in the entire league. Mike Conley's solid. Cat's there. He's got size on him at least. I can give him that. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, one of my favorite players in the entire league to watch. There's Naz Reid. There's such great defensive talent and just general talent on that team that Rudy, he's really able to impact the game best as a defender when he's just, sent to the post and goes to work. And he doesn't have the block numbers of a guy like Wemby, sure. But he doesn't need to. Guys are scared to go to the rim because Rudy Gobert is guarding it. So he is one of the most impactful defenders we have ever seen. One of the greatest defenders of all time. And he catches a lot of hate. Shaq called him the worst NBA player of all time. That couldn't be further from the truth. It's time we put some respect on Rudy Gobert's name. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could find it in you to like, subscribe, maybe check out the full podcast on Spotify. Follow us on there. Follow us on Instagram. I know realistically this podcast isn't going to go anywhere ultimately, whether it's via the segments on YouTube or the entire podcast itself. but I want to get into the sports broadcasting business. I want to be able to promote thought-provoking discussions about the NBA, and I would love to do it via State of the Association. Thank you if you made it all the way through.